Ladies and gentlemen, we've been without a power level relevant rapid fire pulse rifle for quite some time now. Which is a shame because this is an archetype that I've always really liked. In Destiny 2, Outlast was one of my favorite primaries that I ever got my hands on, but it was Grasp of Moloch from Destiny 1 that really got me hooked on rapid fire pulses. But Time Worn Spire returned to us this season with an updated perk pool and random rolls. You probably picked one up last Iron Banner this season, but if you haven't, Lord Saladin is back in the tower at the time of this video's release. So now's your chance to snag the only non-sunset 540 pulse rifle in the game. And it's a good one. Like, really good. Plus, this is not just a PvP weapon. It has a lot to offer on both sides of Destiny 2. So even if you absolutely loathe playing Iron Banner, this one might be worth chasing down. And if you do end up finding this video useful, helpful, or enjoyable, please remember to leave it a like. And consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel. But as always, only do so if you feel that the content is good enough to warrant your support. Let's get into the review though, with a look at Time Worn Spire's stats and perks. Time Worn Spire is a legendary kinetic rapid-fire pulse rifle firing at 540 rounds per minute with a base 36 rounds in the magazine. Intrinsically, rapid-fire pulse rifles have deeper ammo reserves and a slightly faster reload speed when the magazine is empty. And we'll be sure to take a look at this later on in the video. We're gonna head straight over to d2gunsmith.com to check out the stats and perks for Time Worn Spire. And if we're looking at the stats alone, it's pretty easy to be underwhelmed. The stat lines on rapid-fire pulse rifles in general tend to be the worst of the weapon class. And we see Time Worn Spire coming up on the shorter end of things in range, reload speed, and handling. The base stability of 54 is okay, not great by any means, but it's serviceable. This weapon has a recoil of 60, which is going to cause it to pull to the right. The aim assist stat though, sitting at 79, is one of the best in the weapon class. When we take a look at the perks and attachments though, there's some really solid options in here. Time Worn Spire comes with scopes as opposed to barrels. This means that we can increase the zoom magnification, which is absolutely the best way to increase the physical range on our weapon. For the magazine options, there's nothing really out of the ordinary here, but it can roll with ricochet rounds, which is still one of the best mag options as far as I'm concerned. But hey, pick your favorite for how you play. In perk column 1, there's some nice ones in here also. I saved 2 rolls from last Iron Banner. One had moving target, one had under pressure. But any of these options could provide a nice benefit to the gun. Here again, it's all in what you're looking to get out of it. In perk column 2, we can find 3 damage increasing perks. You can walk away with either Rampage, Vorpal Weapon, or One for All. And Time Worn Spire can also see the 3 Iron Banner exclusive perks roll out on it. So either Iron Grip, Iron Reach, or Iron Gaze. Now I really don't like the stat trade-offs on these, for this weapon in particular. Iron Grip is pretty nice, but I'm looking at 3 damage perks above it. But one more key piece to the puzzle here is our mod slot. I highly recommend putting a counterbalance stock on this weapon. The recoil goes from a 60 to a 75, and it really straightens out that burst. This is another thing we'll be taking a peek at in the next section. But that Time Worn Spire that you're looking at right there is one of the rolls that I saved from the last Iron Banner. The other one that I held onto has a red dot 2 sight, ricochet rounds, under pressure, and rampage. And I gotta say, I've been very impressed with the performance of both rolls. But let's head into the PvE section to check out our damage, functionality, and performance. Alright, starting out with some functionality aspects, and the first thing I wanted to highlight is the importance of counterbalance stock on this weapon. This is my under pressure roll here, and as the weapon fires, it is tracking up and to the right. Under pressure kicks in when the magazine is at half, and limits the climb of the weapon, but it still wants to pull on us. We put a counterbalance stock on though, and halfway through the magazine, this gun turns into a laser beam, with the bullets piling nearly one on top of another. And I'm spamming the trigger here. This is the weapon being used at its max fire rate. So I really think counterbalance stock is a must slot on this weapon. It does it a world of good. For the reload speeds, we actually have 4 separate sets that we need to look at. First, our base reload speed comes in at 2.2 seconds. But if we run our magazine down to 0, the intrinsic nature of the archetype will allow us to reload it in 1.8 seconds. Our base reload speed with a pulse rifle loader mod on clocks in at 1.74 seconds. And if we have a pulse rifle loader mod equipped and an empty magazine, our reload speed will be reduced to 1.4 seconds, which is pretty darn quick. Onto the damage numbers, and keep in mind that PvE damage is variable and can change depending on content scaling or enemy tier. I've been doing all of my testing in the Conflux Lost Sector on Nessus against our good buddy Karl the Colossus. Starting off, we see Time Worn Spire hitting for 1,034 points of damage on a crit. So if our full 36 round magazine lands as crits, we can deal a total of 37,244 points of damage. I have it clocked in at 3.83 seconds to fire off all 36 rounds, so damage per second in one magazine is 9,719. And we'll see how this stacks up against a few other archetypes. First up, Hail and Confusion, an adaptive frame pulse rifle. It's registering 1,322 points of damage on a crit, so it's carrying 47,592 points of damage in one magazine. But taking 5.28 seconds to fire off 36 rounds, our damage per second comes in at 9,014. Next up, Cold Denial. A crit versus Carl is registering 1,530 points of damage. Total damage within the 36 round magazine here is 55,080. Time to empty this magazine clocks in at just over 6 seconds, so DPS through one magazine comes in at 9,134. So Time Worn Spire is out damaging these other two weapons. They are carrying more damage per clip, but Time Worn Spire can deliver it faster. But with those damage perks available, we can push up our damage per shot. With 3 stacks of Rampage, our damage jumps to 1,376 on a crit, which is about a 33% damage increase. With the One For All perk, we see about a 35% damage increase, now hitting for 1,395 on a crit. And while I don't have a roll with Vorpal to test out, it will give you a 15% damage increase versus bosses and vehicles. In this case, that would put the crit damage right around 1,193. So performance-wise, why would we want to use Time Worn Spire in PvE? Well, the damage output is good, and with the damage perks available to it, the damage is going to get even better. And what's nice is anytime a Time Worn Spire drops for you, you have a 50-50 chance of getting one of these damage perks. The best of which for PvE in my opinion is One For All. I mean, they all can be very effective, but I think One For All is a top tier perk. All you need to do is hit 3 separate enemies, and you get a 35% damage buff for 10 seconds. And I think this is a great perk on high rate of fire weapons like Time Worn Spire, because bullets do need to be landed in short succession. So if you just spray a few bursts into a pack of enemies, you're bound to tag 3 of them, netting you one of the highest weapon-bound damage buffs in the game, and you don't even need to physically down a target to activate it. Plus, Time Worn Spire, being a pulse rifle, does have decent range. We'll talk about this a little further in the PvP section, and while the range is not exceptionally long, it's plenty enough to make use of the Sundering Glare seasonal artifact mod. This applies a 20% debuff to a target for landing rapid precision hits from range. So if you have a damage buff rolling already, have some more. Also, this is a legendary weapon, so it can be easily masterworked to generate orbs of power. And since this is a fast-firing weapon that can clear trash ads very quickly, it does have high multi-kill potential, which leads into high orb generation potential. On top of that, Unstoppable Pulse Rifle is featured in the seasonal artifact here in Season of the Chosen. So it can be used in higher level content where champions are present, if it fits into your loadout. For some drawbacks, it's not built for extreme long-range engagements. Now with the right perks and mods, it can be good. It can actually be surprisingly good, but don't expect it to be performing at scout rifle ranges. It's still a pulse. And then the base stats. In general, they do present a lot of holes that need to be filled, and you're not going to be able to pull them all up at the same time through the perks and attachments. If you focus on 1 or 2 stats, you can get them to the point where they're looking pretty respectable. But this is definitely a give and take situation. With that though, let's head into PvP and see how Time Worn Spire is doing in there. Alright, as always, starting out with our damage numbers. Time Worn Spire will hit for 24 points of damage on a crit and 15 points of damage to the body. This puts our optimal time to kill at 0.8 seconds by landing 7 crits and 2 body shots. And the body shot time to kill comes in at 1.4 seconds, with 14 shots landed. For the physical range, I tested out 3 different sight options: a short zoom, a medium zoom, and a long zoom scope. And keep in mind, a range masterwork and ricochet rounds are helping out in all cases. First up, the Hitmark IS, a short zoom sight. With this, we can step back as far as 33 meters before seeing damage fall off. If we equip the Red Dot 2 sight, we can now hit for full damage from up to 38 meters away. But if we throw on the Rifle Scope ST, we can now see full damage from up to 47 meters away. But we got a few damage perks to look at also. And a big thank you to a couple of the guys from the Discord gang for piling in here and helping me get this testing done. First off, One For All. If you can get it procced, it will deliver a lethal 2-tap if you can land 6 bullets as crits. That's going to give you about a 0.56 second time to kill. If we're taking a look at Rampage, it's not going to drastically reduce your time to kill through the first 2 stacks, because it's still going to require 3 bursts. But if we have 3 stacks, here again, we are looking at 2 burst kills if we're landing crits. And performance-wise, I've always liked rapid-fire pulse rifles due to their versatility and forgiveness. They can handle themselves fairly well in nearly any engagement. Long range, mid-range, short range, they have the ability to cover them all, with their high rate of fire, their damage profile, and their solid physical range. And Time Worn Spire, with its selectable scopes, allows you to play outside of 120 RPM hand cannon's optimal range, which in the current sandbox can be pretty important. And honestly, if you have the perks and attachments to boost your range and stability, the strong marks and aim assist allow shots to land very consistently from distance. I've never felt like I was fighting with Time Worn Spire to land shots. I got it in the ballpark, pulled the trigger, and the gun wanted to help. Plus, pulse rifles inherently have a very gradual damage fall off when outside of their optimal range. If you look at a hand cannon, if you're just back 5 meters from their optimal range, you're going to lose a good chunk of your damage. With a pulse rifle, you lose maybe 1 or 2 points, so you don't have to watch your range as closely. And at base, the time to kills are competitive. 0.8 seconds for an optimal time to kill is pretty solid, especially given the ranges it can perform at. And while that 1.4 second body shot time to kill isn't anything to write home about, it's certainly not the worst in the game by any means. And our bullet combination to hit that optimal time to kill isn't all that bad. You're looking at a 78% crit ratio. And while all 9 bullets from 3 bursts do need to land, if a few sneak onto the body, I mean, no big deal. And then we have the available damage perks. And since these are weapon-bound damage buffs, they will stack with external damage buffs, like High Energy Fire and Empowering Rift, or the Whisper of Hedron's Fragment. So when you start pairing those things together, Time Worn Spire can be quite deadly. Some drawbacks though. Since this is a high rate of fire weapon, you kinda need to commit to your engagements, in a similar manner that you would do with an auto rifle. It's really not built for peak shooting, at least if you want to have a chance at seeing something around your optimal time to kill. Next, while it can perform at a wide variety of ranges, it's really not the best option at any of them. Since Time Worn Spire's damage is split between 3 bullets, at long range, something like a 120 hand cannon or Dead Man's Tail may have a leg up on it, since the damage from each trigger pull is packed into a single bullet. And these weapons become increasingly lethal if they have a damage buff, seeing a 0.5 second 2-tap. At mid-range, your 140 RPM hand cannons can outduel you, and auto rifles, given their ease of use, could arguably be the better option. Up close, obviously SMGs and sidearms are flat out gonna outdamage a rapid fire pulse rifle. So here again, we're in a trade-off situation. Is it more valuable to carry a weapon that is more versatile and flexible? Or is it better to equip a weapon that will excel in a certain aspect? That is 100% your call. For the verdict, overall I think Time Worn Spire is a great option for both sides of Destiny 2. In PvE, given its damage output, its usability at a wide variety of ranges, and the potential to roll out with solid damage perks, makes it a good option. This is a legendary primary weapon, it's not a boss melter. Its main job is to mop up packs of ads, and sometimes help chunk down a major target without using special ammo, and it fills this role very well. In PvP, I'm personally someone who values Time Worn Spire's versatility. This is a weapon that I can put my trust in at nearly any range, and it comes through for me. Is Time Worn Spire a gun that's going to unseat the current meta in high-level comp or trials? Probably not. I'm sure some people can make it work just fine. But in general, I don't see it taking over 120 RPM hand cannons as the go-to primary weapon. But overall, this is a very, very nice pulse rifle, and it's absolutely deserving of a look. And if you did enjoy this video, please remember to leave it a like and consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel if you'd like to see more Destiny 2 content presented by yours truly. To catch me live, I'll occasionally be streaming right here on YouTube, and to contact me, you can look for Ironworker814 on Twitter, join our channel Discord, link will be in the description, or comment down below and I will do my best to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.